place-based learning, absolutely. But I'm just curious about what my task is, what the board would like me to do, because I'm happy to look into, you know, just find out the price, the price and the acreage. Do you want me to just find the price and the acreage?
25 acres.
Yeah, it's 310,000. Right, so you're
310.
they might adjust your.
Yeah, so the original they want to sell it to the town.
Less expensive.
Yeah, and the original want to sell to the town $1 million.
Could I just, it's a pretty simple question. So the reason for you idea for selling it to that was a special arrangement. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But the idea is that if the newly licensed wants to sell this current back to the community, they will sell it back to the community for right? But since UID has no town per se, except for its own independent district that governs only the school, the Deborah Rossman Library is seen as the next option. Since there is no town to sell to, it's in a similar use practice.
Because UID is a municipality, and Deborah Rossman is Jericho and Underhill. Just as the municipality is part of Jericho and Underhill. So that was the idea around that. So the answer to your question is yes.
Rawson Library District is a municipal district, so it can operate as a consumer.
Okay. I think it's, well, can tell us about the building.
Do you want to go for a physical walk, or do you
I wanna-
want to just
Well, no,
have a
I want to go for a physical walk
Okay.
and you point and say,
Okay.
pardon? Well, the one lady is a translator, and David isn't here yet, and Ryan, do you want to speak?
I was going to offer to follow up on something, and it probably can be. I remember last time I was here, Peter had asked about what was the word from Jericho related to the unification. And since I've had to go around with a petition and talk to more folks, I had some answers. But if you have a tight agenda, this can wait, and I'm happy to, you know, share that input at another meeting.
Why don't you do the walk at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to have my hands to sit here.
No, that's okay. I mean, I can leave. I can come back to another meeting.
It's the same amount of time when you talk now or later.
Right. And I don't have anything that on specific. So we'll do it at the end. That's what you John.
Well, is that okay? Okay.
If you guys were interested, I just was able to talk with a lot more residents because when you go around with your petitions, you start having a conversation. So I just wanted to let you know that from my conversations, certainly within my neighborhood, my circle, most of the people in Jericho are in support of the unification. I haven't actually found anyone who is against it. There are people who have some further questions and concerns, but no one has expressed any reason why they wouldn't want to do this or wouldn't like it. Anyone who has kids in the middle school or high school was totally in support. Some people who had kids that were younger had one woman who told me she had voted against it the first time. She homeschools her children, and that this time she had changed her mind, and that it was all about more opportunities for children, especially in special needs and other areas. I also had an opportunity to speak to some teachers who live in my neighborhood, one from Underhill ID and another one who serves in the district. And there's a general sense that there's a bit of envy that Jericho has a lot of things, a lot of resources that other schools are unable to provide, and that in unification, merging, that those resources might be shared, and the instructors were looking forward to that type of sharing, that type of ability to have more resources for their children. One of the substitutes who goes all over the district, including Huntington, talked about their concern about local control, and we talked a little bit about what does local control mean, and their concern about they will take away Huntington's food service. And I was able to say at that point that the point of the unification is to take what's working and expand it and make it better, not to take away what's working. So it was great to have those conversations. But overall, it sounds as though the people that I've been speaking with are very interested. They're asking good questions, but are very much in support of unification. I just kind of wanted to bring that back.
And, I thought for Phil at Farmers Market, and he said he was surprised, he said a large majority of people we thought we could think. And I didn't aware that there isn't.
I know, I was the first, when I went to door, again, it was me introducing the idea, most of the time, except for the teachers. And so it was an opportunity then to.
So it wasn't like that majority were able to source money.
Exactly. They did not know much about it. Were interested in finding out more about it. But when the idea was brought up, didn't come up with anything that was concerning to them from the church.
You are happy.
Of course, I'm gonna have it, so I can think it that way, yes.
So I too took the petition there, and this time I chose to go to a part of the town that I've never gone to and bother people with my petition. Keep my neighbors away. And I had exactly the opposite experience. 90% of the homes and people that I went to knew about the merger, and every one of them was in favor of it, including the couples in elementary school kids. The 10% that didn't know about it, once I explained it to them, they were in favor of it also. So I did not come across a single person who was opposed to it. And I came across an amazing number of people who knew about it and knew that the vote was coming up.
Interesting. So still talking to serious non-politics at the news, and most of the people are unaware of it. So that's my experience. As you go through
The other thing I was gonna say is that, I talked with a couple of coworkers who live in this district. And I did want to say that both of them, just couldn't say enough about school here. One had their children raised and they've gone off. And both admitted that, they do feel like people here are working really, really hard. And they wish they had more resources to do the wonderful job that they're doing. But again, it was a good opportunity for me to talk about the merger because they did not know about it as my coworkers. And so I'll be able to follow up. You know, I was able to say, come to the public forums, get more educated. But it was good to be able to have that discussion. One was completely for it, and the other one was a little concerned, but we had a great discussion. That was all I was going to say. It's just kind of very important.
We had two other community members that have come. Since we're still on the community comments, is it all right if we leave it open to those two also?
Yes.
Okay. David?
I had known about the murder. So that's one of the reasons why we started. Do you remember a post for my kids coming here? I actually was then toured the school, the young ones are still here in second grade. So I was last spring, but I really didn't understand what it meant. kind of forgot that during the summer, and then thinking at school, and talking about a vote, so I felt like I was really not an informed citizen of it. You know, I don't know what the positive and negative ramifications of communication would be. So when I saw that it was going to be coming out tonight, I wanted to discuss it. I forgot your name, I'm sorry, but John, okay. So I had, run into John and, talked about being deaf and being a member of the school system and wanting to have access to this information. And I was given the office, the district office number and so on. So, I was able to have an interpreter here, and I'm coming as a dad of a child here and wanting to make sure that I can make an informed decision. I don't want to have, to be out of town next week, but I will be here for a subsequent meeting. And I'm here to learn. I want to know what both the positive and negative aspects of a murder would be. So would it combine the boards, for example, or would it be a difference in the board structure, or? And what about the schools themselves? For example, Underhill Central School, declining enrollment or 8th grade, I'm trying to think. It seems like the 8th grade was large full a couple of years back, and it's not. You know, it's maybe 3/4 full right now. So I want to understand those ramifications. And down the road, are you thinking that this school will no longer exist? Is the school going to close? Or will it merge with the IB school? Or just what are people looking at components for this merger meeting? And like one high school, 2 middle schools. So again, the elementary schools, I'm worried if, or at least want to know more about whether you're thinking about combining them and losing one of them or what's that.
In addition to the 2 meetings that we're having here, there are other meetings, and I'll put those on the front porch forum for people to know about. There's one at the Browns River Middle School is there, and one at the high school. So we hope there are good opportunities for people to learn, in addition to the 2 that are here next week on the 28th.
I don't have any comment at the time. I've been going to the meetings this year and I've learned a great deal.
Okay.
Admiration for all of you. You sent something out today which had all of the meetings coming up. And those who publicize, if somebody can't go to the 27th or the 28th here, plenty of other meetings.
The 7th and the 28th here,
Right.
and then the 16th is one at Browns River Middle School in the library, and the 21st is one at the Deborah Rossi Library,
One in Jericho.
and the 22nd, there's one at the high school.
I think to echo what Jean is saying, I'll make sure she does. To echo what Jean was saying, there are meetings at Underhill ID which will have the same basic information about the merger. And even though the people may be from a different school district, the questions will probably be the same. And even going to Richmond or Jericho for a meeting is absolutely possible. Also, the website links to all the minutes of all the meetings. So the discussion from the central office can be traced back But I think you find that on the CVSU website, not on just Underhill, but definitely on the CVSU one.
There's a link on our school website.
Okay.
And we also have a sheet of paper that is passed around in the state. And it's being mailed to everybody.
Right, there will be a mailing that's going to every voter that will have a quick outline and also say, again, the meetings, and you can go to a meeting in any town you want to go to.
Okay, thank you. Come on, you may be up. Everybody have a copy of the agenda, please, maybe some other paperwork. Right here.
At the end.
For those who still want.
Yes, if everyone doesn't have that, that's that out.
Is that different than what we sent out? Yes, it is, what we sent out. It is different.
Okay. This is the first draft. Top page should be the budget summary page. And in the first draft, we're looking at an increase over fiscal year 15 of about $152,000, or 6.5% increase. One of what we have in here as far as assumptions, 3% salary increase, 4.5% for the health. We have prepaid partnerships in the budget. And the numbers that we're using as far as the total partnerships are based on enrollment in fiscal year 15, 21, and first grade ed together. And take away from that, take that in terms of the program, come up with a holding number of potential partnerships in fiscal year 16 and 28. $3,000 partnership, that is going to increase school partnerships. We already have 1,200 budgeted in fiscal year 15, so we have 84,000 in fiscal year 16, getting almost $700,000. That you can see is almost half the increase of pretty much everything else is just forward.
What staffing would you assume?
We assume the same staffing, did not reduce anyone at this point. We did have in fiscal year 15 the last of the 3 payments for the buyout. That was $7,700 over the last 2 years. We had a retirement package that was offered. That has dropped off, so we don't have that this year. The art position is assessed in fiscal year 16, so looking at the budget line, teacher salary has shown a large increase in the actual happening since the art is further down the instructional programs is assessed for that position is still there. Everyone else is there at an increase of 3%. One other thing I added in, or 2 things, 3 things actually. Secretarial services and operational maintenance plan. Substitutes, actuals, substitutes, similar number. Just be important. So added those 2 numbers, 1,500 for secretarial service, 10,000 for substitute operations. Never budgeted that before. We do periodically, not periodically, we do see dollars being expended on that line. So I wanted to put that in this first draft. Third item I added budget for fiscal year 15 equipment and
So I restored that in the first draft of this conversation. Those are the only three things that I added. We have one other item to address in this year's budget, and that is food program. Food program for fiscal year 14 had a loss, net loss in operations that reduced the positive fund balance it had at the beginning of the year to about $900. Essentially wiped that out, and that program gets fund balance $1,500. So I added a transfer from the general fund to the food program, $1,541 to make up for that deficit savings program. I can talk a little bit more in a moment on detail of the food service program. That is pretty much in a nutshell on the expense side. Transportation grant held constant, interest earned, and tax anticipation surplus gain across the year. We haven't used all the money that's been actively used to investment account. That's the short-term borrow. So we are interest on that. I held that interest that's constant at 6 days. Special education, estimated a 5% increase in draft one. We have no indication. Typically in draft one, the last 2 years, we've been 5%. Just to have a permanent for some sort of increase. That's pretty much it on the revenue side. Let me just quickly page through if there's anything else I want to bring to your attention in the detail section. The assessed salaries, music teacher, art teacher, professional developer, those were increased 5% from the first draft. Central office index. So just put in a place over a 5% increase in the raise. And talked about the 28 partnerships. Technology upgrades, the third year of our technology upgrade is making the same dollar figure as last year. No increase, more increase is last year, the same number. The Department of Education asked us, or has asked all the schools to represent the cost of the audit, not as a cost of the audit, annual audit, not as an individual cost to the school district, but to assess the food center office. So we switch that into the chicken and yeast section of the budget. It's on the budget. That then mirrors the staff with collection registration process. And what's still in the budget, secretarial service is a census for $500, and the plan is for that to come out and just a different way of having that information collected. That's it, thank you. The census that we're going to find in the year, that having to cut that cost.
Absolutely.
How was that? How do you get it in
I've done it just now, I was preparing back this month. So it's trying a different spreadsheet that the secretary is doing for me. And we have information from Heather Louise runs our early childhood program here in East Ride for Finley, and she has access to a monthly list of all rates in Chipping County. So I can use that information. We can use property transfer information. We can put all of that on the spreadsheet. Different than what we get into a very complex database that I don't think we need to do the other secretaries and other programs that we have. So I'm trying it out. I'm piloting this right now to see how I feel the issue is. So I'm a little better for the board, but I know we can streamline this.
One other item I wanted to mention is, other operations, coming up. Both for, I guess, all, both sections, workers' comp and also the property insurance and then the liability and umbrella policy. We have a new carrier, this year. We're going, signing on the UCS insurance program. So we will be getting our workers' comp and property insurance program. So they operate a little bit differently. The quotes came out, more costly than workers' comp and less costly than the prop. So you may see some ups and downs in those insurance lines. But overall, we should save some money. So we have some savings distributed throughout. So you'll see some differences on those items. Last thing on operations, maintenance plan, did nothing to change oil costs. We have a very cold winter, so we did go over budget quite a bit, $50,000 is what we spent this week, keeping the budget at $20,000. And I mentioned that in adaptive equipment, $10,000, and also talking about food service that's so it's first draft, early on, a lot of information still kind of out there, a little bit soft. The number and it was going to be insurance, read that. 3% salary increase, as far as the teachers go, that's pretty much the second increase. Questions?
There is a question about the staff. What's your current projection on the student population?
I'm still using the same number that we had last year, which we anticipate 90. We're at 118 right now.
98?
I think it's over. I remember.
That's what I was.
It wasn't. No, I mean, I'm still going with the same number.
Oh, 98.
98. I'm still going with the same number. I haven't changed that number yet. But we should by the second draft of the budget, we should really examine that. I have some current numbers to share with you, if you want to discuss those. Yep.
You need to have the updated numbers in time for work with them. But yes.
I can give you a little preliminary glimpse at what the future holds. Through the preschool, what these numbers roughly speaking, going forward. Okay.
What other questions or comments are there for Bob, or suggestions or things you want him to look at or consider him? When I say Bob, it's really 2 or 3 or 4 people that put your heads together. Anything else come to mind that you're aware of? Factor in for our next meeting. Okay, good job again, Bob. We asked when Bob was here last time, we asked him to send us the details of something that we sent those out. But what was this?
It's a variance analysis.
Yeah,
So now I checked with Andrew and see if he had gotten it, so I assumed everyone else had received it.
Do you have any questions for the food service? Anybody have any question in that for the always here? Okay, good. We, are you involved in anything else on the agenda?
No.
Can I ask a question about the budget? So for the next meeting, for the next draft of the budget, the thought was that Barb would present any recommendations, give the population estimates and any reductions or not with that, and those would be reflected in the next draft. So the principal report and recommendations will be in that technology. Does that work for you? So does it make
I
sense?
think
to
it
share?
does.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay. Get your signature. Okay, that's what you were thinking about. The 3 or 4 of you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Bob.
Do you need anything else?
And all your
Thank you, Bob. Have a good night.
I saw it on the way in, yeah.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the payment in gold.
Good night. Good
Yeah,
night, Bob.
Oh, okay, we're at the stage of implementing this, continuing to implement it to the extent we can implement it. Obviously, anything that we do, we can see what is appropriate. We've looked at this recently, and what should we be implementing at this point? Or should we be checking ourselves against? Clearly, the community engagement is what this comes to our mind right now. What did we say? October, hot April, and ongoing, doing something.
I had no idea if I could walk.
Yes, well, it wasn't a pop-up, it was the beginning of the school year, it was. That was our month, our harvest month. That was the harvest.
Sort of the first time.
Yes, and we had local musicians, and folks are saying to me they'd like that to be the first annual. They're very positive. Folks love it. It's a lovely weather. John, was it a lovely evening?
It was.
It was.
You had good weather
We
too.
had great weather.
Yeah,
play.
there's a lot of,
Yeah,
There's a lot
I
of
stopped by on the way home, and this food, my reaction to this is gas, why haven't been in the movie in 20 years? Such an obvious thing, I mean, how's that done?
So I'm wondering if that was on this timeline, cut, actually cut them. Is that really sort of getting
We did that instead, you know, the teachers sometimes do an ice cream social to welcome students
Yeah.
back, and so this year we did something different. And the idea that started by Amanda Cowan and I were talking all day, you know, and what kind of school-like things we do, and she and other devices, part of PTO said, well, let's see if we can get some of our local musicians to come, and, you know, let's invite all the parents to come rather than just do an ice cream social for a few grade levels. That's how it kind of was grassroots.
So if you look at that image later, it's set up as a school engagement. So the question is that something that you all want to come to, or organize a different thing?
what are your thoughts?
Is this implying that we should organize something next month? Not that you- October is a little full at the moment, but should we be doing it? In addition to, or are you suggesting that we latch onto that as our event in
I think we want to help people to focus on the merger of the unification. No, I think we would get.
we can feed them.
Right, that's what I
Feel
was
free to
saying.
get people to come.
So for that October 7th meeting.
Might be a lot to. However, we do also have people.
So you're suggesting that would be public as well?
Or at least something along those lines, so that people have a reason to come.
Any response, any reaction, any other comments? I don't hear any followers, I don't know what to do with that really. I think maybe the lesson is that we need to take this and put it into our calendar such that we see next month or 2 months from now that this is going to be doing. We have human characteristics just like real people do. So what are your wishes?
I think I would latch onto that 28th.
president to coordinate with, potentially the PTO or the school. Getting the information out there, but it's not possible to do.
Okay. What do the other two of you think about that? 28. That's people that. So you come a half hour early or 45 minutes early? Pardon?
Looking for the time.
6:30 is our scheduled time.
Board meeting, like, scheduled from 5:45 to 6:30.
Possibly. And just you in here, I don't know what kind of a group we're going to get, but maybe the 3 people, maybe 6 people.
Is it here or will we be doing it?
Pardon? 28 is here.
Merger and commission meeting, 6:30 p.m. at UCS.
Yeah, that's the one that is required by state law.
Right, we don't have to have it.
No, the Jen told us that last time, or 2 times ago.
She was.
I have an idea. So here, each classroom has a liaison. And they might take up the responsibility of giving information out to the families and ensuring the public is on. If you did, the Congress have that go out to the liaison so that all families have that pretty, convenient notification and keep together coordinated school efforts. I think that you probably had a good response from families that you have contact with the
I didn't follow all of that. But I think you said, Jay said he supports the idea of the potluck and he thinks the community would.
And if we work through the classroom liaisons, the enthusiastic supporters, and, you know.
Exactly.
Work with whom?
The
Classroom liaison.
There's like one person that is a huge class.
Oh. Okay. What do you think?
I think it's up to the board. This is the board's work.
Which means that,
Contacting Heather Levice and Amanda Cowan, they are the people that you contact to put out information to the classroom liaisons. Those are volunteers to UCS, and they put out all kinds of information about field trips, about potlucks, about any events. So it would come from the board to Amanda and Heather, and we put it out to the classroom liaisons. It's a communication system.
do you know those two?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and we're getting, I think Tony and Peter are not displaying enthusiasm for it. I don't know what too hard.
I love potlucks.
Yeah, okay.
I would think.
Me too.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Easy one. We're ready to get started.
So is it all right if Kristen, yes, other than Amanda, and see what their reaction is, and possibly then move on from there.
Pretty much all I need to do is give them the information about what the potluck
Just
will
need to
happen.
send them the
once-
word if you want to go out on the, just send them the word that goes out on email and we just forward it to everybody.
Okay.
We can also probably put it in the family news.
Facebook page.
Okay. Okay. Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the, which date did you choose? I'm sorry,
28.
and the time?
Well, yeah, 5:45, that seemed like a reasonable time to be ready for a 6:30 meeting.
You have a lot of
Might
people.
be a little early, if you let me back from work.
Oh, there's also the matter of,
If you have a lot of people, people will be finished eating and serving themselves. If you have 100 people, it'll be dicey, then we will start at 6:30.
the space is also used.
Yes, we have likewise.
And when?
6.
What's that usual time?
Can we start back at 5:67? We start meeting at 7. Still enough time to fix the warrant, I think, isn't there? There we go.
There is, we did, I think we put this in the mail today, the times of all the meetings, so. We can set out a
Are
separate.
you comfortable starting the discussion on the meeting?
I don't
Set up
know.
a table?
Yeah, I think that's fine too. And if it's 5 or
You're
10
gonna have a lot
minutes,
of kids here too. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of families members, I think that's your point. But the discussion isn't necessarily one that kids are gonna sit through for an hour. So you may wanna think about offering childcare or some movie or some kind of activity for the students to participate so that you can have the adult attention.
I don't think of a way where we could engage the majority, a large majority of the towns that don't have children in our, school system, not coming in blame right now.
Well, I think if we put this post out onto the front page forum and make flyers and post it, that's the best way to do it.
Neighbors inviting neighbors.
Right. Yeah. But,
I do encourage you to think about how to teach them when they're wrong, with parents
we could,
wanting to ask questions and feeling like they can't stay because it's bedtime and, 7 o'clock is bedtime for our younger kiddos. Certain parents want to be home by 8, so, 6:30 to 7:30 is about the extent of what you're going to have, at least the parents be here. Other community members will stay a little longer, but if you have a lot of children, you're, it could be difficult for folks to ask questions.
it's too nice for Halloween too. It's a big event for little people. Well, I wonder what would happen if we, made it as an adult pop-up as opposed to, for some people that might make them, this important thing, one, but then it's also all more, potentially hold different people in the community might not otherwise come to school.
is it the night that people are going to be out trick or treating?
No, it's 3 nights. It's Tuesday, the 31st is Friday. So, 3 nights.
Okay.
Making comments. I mean, we could use the library, I'm sure, as a way of moving on the whiteboard.
We use numbers from the accidents to,
It also requires supervision. The high schoolers need community service, right?
Exactly. From, again, from page 4, advertisement, looking for high school students who would be willing to, think about that night or their
so some of these things we don't know.
Yeah, we would
That
like
they
to,
don't know, it's gotta be volunteers.
be sure to speak so that maybe we can hear and we all can hear, so we speak to everybody.
Well, could we have a parent supervisor?
don't have to get.
It's certainly affecting the parent in the high school.
Right.
Suggesting that they could be careful.
Oh, no, I mean, UCS parent would be more supervision. Having super, it's getting complicated, but having parents supervise, but also potentially in the high school. Also, as I think of a board.
It's just too complicated. It sounds like it's getting too complicated.
Well, I think when you put the added all community emphasis on kids coming, that makes it more complicated. But if you make it a community potluck or the discussion where knowing that we word it in that fashion, we might get less parents, but we also might get, other community members to come or the merge meeting.
But then, underlying.
Community engagement. Personally, I don't think so. I think what it does is it lets, it qualifies in a way that says, this is an important adult conversation that, you can raise the kids' game. However, it's not necessarily that kind of a discussion, but we would like, I don't know that undermines community engagement. I think it just expresses it in a different way.
Christian, would you follow up with those two and then inform the rest of us on how to do
There's nothing that I don't need to find out from them. Really, it's about writing a paper, giving them the information of what we want to have happen, and then they'll disseminate it, and people will bring their food, and they will come or they won't. I think that's really it's not about fighting anything out at this point. It's just about
Okay. All right. And so we'll do that.
So there's time, I'm sorry, 5:45 or 6, we can't do it at 5:45.
6 to 7 pop up.
Okay, do you want me to change?
What kind of is
It says on here, 6:30.
We have like refreshments. We keep that valid.
Yeah, that might be a better idea.
It's like cheese and crackers, cider or something. That way, since that just went out, we have a mass mailing.
So is it still a potluck, or is it like a light refreshments potluck, or are we just going to provide?
We have the budget.
You don't have a board budget.
Well, yeah, how about a light refreshment kind of potluck?
Okay.
Would people respond to that?
I'm just thinking if a community member without children here, I would want to come because it's a merger discussion, not a meal. Like, two things don't fit very much. And so I like a light, if it could be dessert or something light, but to have a whole potluck, it's a different purpose than talking about the merger. See what I mean? If you're trying to get community members who are not regularly involved in their children. No. And then, if you don't come, if you live in Underhill and you don't come this coming Tuesday, that's the main Underhill meeting on the 28th. Although it should be encouraged for people to go to Jericho or Huntington or anywhere to hear about it. I guess I just don't see food in the discussions merging very well.
I think food always brings people out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're interested in the merger, you might come. If you are kind of interested in the merger and there might be food, you might be more likely to come.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I like, somebody's out there
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
big meal.
Is there going to be a delay from the people that are using
And the children are picked up by 6 p.m. and the wide programs, they have them moving and they leave here, 6 and 6:15.
and people could begin sharing their food sometime around 6:05 or something. That's maybe works, if we can start the program while people are still.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, some people might be helping in a very generous way, bring something more than like. If we supply cheese and crackers, like the fresh before we provided, then we can make sure nothing really comes into the big dish that's default.
So just take it over.
Yeah, but we have the money on the cheese and but there's no money in. Now we're gonna cut shit.
I don't give any money for that.
I think there used to be a board budget when we're taking out. That's not-
Which line item are you talking about?
let's see, third page. There's $5,000 in court expenses, without looking at the detail of operating expenses, I seem to remember that covers various fees and, I want to say attorney's fees for negotiations and the boards, probably stuff like that. In their board placeholder. But I have to check.
So do you want to, can we check with Bob to see if there's?
Well, Barbara really in charge of the meeting, the budget that was voted on last morning. That's part of her job, is to stay within that budget. And, we're asking her to skim off a little bit for our purpose, which probably isn't the right thing to do.
I'm not asking her to skim, I'm asking her to much help.
But she answered that, I think.
So are we going to contribute?
Oh,
I don't know.
How much you talking about? Anybody know?
I don't know, how, like, a block of cheese from Costco and block of cracker. Costco box of cracker. Is that what we're thinking of? Is that even worth it at that
Well,
point?
we can still leave it at the potluck and take the risk somebody's going to bring in something that we wouldn't think is appropriate. I think we can live with that.
I think we need to go with one.
Pardon?
I think we need to go with one or the other.
One or the other.
Either we're gonna make it a cheese and cracker social, or we're gonna do potluck. I think, because I think if we say potluck, people will expect to eat it. And if we're not prepared to provide that,
Okay, how do we finance it?
I'm happy to contribute myself. Perhaps it's not-
Anybody know how much money we're talking about?
Let's say $30. So $30 on cheese and crackers, and basically some cider.
Okay, so something less than $10 a board member.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll contribute. The table on the side, people do much for it. Because your agenda for the discussion is pretty long. You've got a couple hours there. On the agenda, if you stay with it, your proposed agenda.
This is the proposed agenda piece of stuff. Not the 20.
Not going to use it on the 28th? I thought it was.
Well, both of them are, if they're tentative in either case, so we
Okay.
don't know yet.
But it could
And of course-
run a while, if there's a number of people that,
Pretty much it depends upon what the people here want to do.
right.
To a reasonable extent, we won't cut off.
I'll bring
any,
some
but-
cheese.
Thank you.
Okay, And I'll take a pass at going through this and putting it up against our calendar.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to do on this?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
This is similar to the last comment I made about division. There are not a lot of periods on these 5 pages and not very many sentences. And that unfortunately reflects the great success of Microsoft Salesforce. People are the audience for these sorts of documents. And schools are about students who are particularly good idea to use first language, which is English, write English prose visions. And, make it something that people would be interested in reading, something that can have some redundancy, which is hopefully English, so that ambiguities are not so rampant through the document, and so that the heart of learning can be injected into the work forward. This is very much PowerPoint-ese, and the one thing that we know about PowerPoint is that it's a great way to show your audience. And so we would like to consider finding 1 or 2 people who know what's going on in the school, to write a vision that reflects how they feel and what they're doing, and it's more about the specialness of the Middle Central School, if there is anything special about a Middle Central School, that you know what, I don't know. It ought to be reflected in this vision, not just in another unit in the cookie cutter planning process and sending it from forever.
Okay, somebody wants to pick up that ball? Feel free. And the administrator's report. We've got something in the mail. And we included the family news on the front page. 2 items. I'd like more information on what's going on with the PDM presented by the state. Those of us who spoke about it. This is simple, clear, straightforward. And if you have a pre-K student, it's 0.46. That's it. Everybody knows the answer. But it says here, that's not true. What is the real situation? What's going on? When will we know what's going on?
That is a really good question, and I wish I knew the answer.
Who's going to give the answer?
That is a good question too. We're thinking Brad James, who's the tax person at the state, will, but I've been to several meetings. And when we look at our equalized pupil number for budgeting purposes, we have a number and it's based on the previous 2 years average.
Right.
But when you have preschool children, they weren't here the previous 2 years because they're preschool. So what do we use for those numbers? And I've heard 3 different things. I've heard we take the current number this year and our census predicted numbers next year and we average them and we use that. I've heard we just take our predicted numbers next year and we use that. And then I have heard that we wait until next fall and whatever number are our actuals are the numbers that we actually use. And we just have to make a best guess. As you can imagine, supervisory unions all over the state are school districts are saying, what do we put in our budget? How do we know what to do? Because next year there is a potential that every single 3 and 4 4-year-old in Underhill chooses to accept this $3,000 voucher, and that could include all the children who are here. They have the choice of saying, I don't want to go to Underhill, I want to go to this other school. So that's why Bob put as a placeholder the maximum amount. When we get more information and it's more specific, we'll let you know, but at the moment, it's very unclear.
Is this a legislative question or a Department of Ed question?
It's a Department of Ed. The legislature passed the law in the spring, and then they gave a rules committee the responsibility to make rules on how to implement the law. The rules committee worked, and that's what I went to, was a rules committee meeting, and they talked about everything. And then when this question was asked, everything else was clear. How to do partnerships, which schools would do it, how do you do it, but this particular question is still unclear. Does that answer your question?
No.
I know.
Like you said.
So I think I'm not sure, the question is, who do we put pressure on to get answers? Is it Bill Frank and George Still? Is it Brad James, who's the tax person of the state? Is it the governor? Is it the Secretary of Education? Is it John Albertini, who communicates all this? We are regularly asking for more clarification.
Presumably, some of us are going to be seeing the Secretary of Education tomorrow night.
I went to the VSBA for Lamoille in Washington County because I was coming through Montpelier. And what they do is that the VSBA does a situational analysis, which tells you all the data, and then the secretary talks about her piece. I would raise my hand and ask specifically, can you tell me specifically how we should budget for the preschool partnerships and how that's going to factor into our ADM and what number we use? I think that's a good place to ask them. I don't think other people realize the impact this is going to have on the budget.
Okay. Martin, the last time we were time before, comment about something they interpreted what you said as one of our speakers was placed improperly on the salary schedule. When this person came to this school. You want to move to us, yes. So what conversation, comment?
And I don't remember that. I don't know of anybody who's been placed wrong. So.
It was when we were talking about the merger, it was saying that it was.
No, I was talking about their seniority salary schedule.
Okay.
So, a person who moved from one school to another lost their seniority and had to start over at their seniority 1 year in this district at Underhill Central, and lost their prior years of, say they taught 10 or 15 years at the other school in CES here. So all of that 15 years was lost. We weren't placed wrongly on the schedule, but that's because we are separate.
It was the seniority. Now, here again, I don't remember that the board ever talked about placing somebody on the seniority. When we hire somebody, we say, we like you, here you'll be on the salary schedule, and here you'll be on
The superintendent is in charge of placing people on the salary schedule. That's different from seniority.
Yeah, and both are based on the negotiated contract. So the contract that the teacher has is very specific about who goes where on the salary schedule based on years of experience in schools. And then in terms of when you leave, for instance, if you're a teacher and you leave Underhill Central School District and you get a job at Richmond School District as a teacher, you lose your years of seniority and you start on step one, not step one, you start on your first year of seniority in terms of reductions, not salary.
Not salary.
So, and that's something that's written into the contract. It's, if you look right on the negotiated contract, it says that. So that's not something.
When you say reduction, you mean the first
be relevant.
Right.
Right, so in this school, if you were going to reduce a teacher, it would be the least senior person. Now, it just so happens that the least senior person in this school may have 10 years experience in a school that he or she came from somewhere else, and they're not least senior compared to everybody in the SU, but regardless, the way our contract works and the way our governance works, that they would be reduced. So in that, it sort of addresses, and pardon me if I sort of jump in with a few thoughts here, if that's okay. One of the things you talked about was the hiring people. There's so many pieces of this, and this is one piece of it, and I look at one of the fantastic teacher in this building is low on the seniority schedule, but at UI, because the individual worked in another elementary school, is very high, and I think, what an amazing teacher, we would lose them if we dropped the population. If we had a merger, we wouldn't really be able to have that person displace someone who retired in another school, you know, instead of hiring you. So that's, I mean, that's one of many.
You're missing my point.
No, I,
Let me finish. My point is that in the current system, the person is still on file.
Right.
So we wouldn't have to use that person. My point is, and then the proposed merger, we might be forced to take someone who retired.
yeah, and that's absolutely perfect.
Someone who's not.
Someone under the proposed merger with these taxes. We may have to hire someone here, getting replaced at our school, even if that person's not a good fit for our school. For another company.
Okay, that makes sense. But we would be consistent.
Well, the Senate on the school bill.
The school.
Minor point.
Oh. Down to the welfare of
The school board being in charge of this,
they won't have any say.
they, we don't have no say anymore.
A little bit.
Okay, anything else for the principal or the superintendent, assistant superintendent?
Did you say you were going to say something about the next?
I can't.
We didn't discuss that in the beginning.
We talked about me doing that for next board meeting,
Oh.
for the next budget prep, I think is what I was. Is that true?
Yeah, we're gonna get the information about, and then I'll have a meeting with the finish the rest. Is that okay?
That's.
Yes.
All right, anything else?
Yeah.
Or the administrator's report?
So where do we stand with our hiring? Do we have someone in the class now?
We have a substitute for and I've been helping out in the classroom, doing some of the teaching as well. We are waiting for the new person that we offered the position to be promoted, and they're having trouble, scheduling things because all of the places are booked. So that's where we stand. I hope next week, that's what I'm anticipating.
Also, there was taking on the new science board.
Yes? Did you see our science board?
No, I haven't seen it.
They were in the new stuff. They were 90% of UCS students are proficient.
This year's one for last week.
This is last year's.
And I need to tell you that I'm a little late, Jackie.
Go ahead, Jen's got
Am I
great
okay to
data.
do? So what I did is I went through the NECAP scores and I listed all the elementary fourth grades, and the highest in the state was Lakeview, 92 students met the standard, but 92%, but they only had 12 children in their fourth grade class. The second was Bingham, 91%, they only had 11 children in the class. And then UCS, that had 40, was third with 90% meeting the standard, and the next highest with that many children was 78%. So our students did very well. Not that we like to compare, but I always like to see, and then I always like to. I always like to then ask the teachers, what was different, what was, in terms of teaching, because we do some professional development and what worked well. And we can go look at the score. I'm sorry, Barb, I'm jumping into this.
It was very exciting. And 34 out of 39 students scored 3, and 2 out of 39 always like to say.
Thank you, and congratulations to the entire staff.
I will tell you, it is the fourth grade teachers and the teachers that teach science, they do a part of that.
Also, I think
Integration.
1 and 2 teachers as well.
Absolutely, I'm absolutely.
Congratulations all.
A year or so ago, the results went for.
Oh, we took a very big look.
And remember you, working with the team and trying to see what we could do to make a difference. Either you're very lucky or you wasn't good. Very good.
I don't think this is luck, if you want to know.
A lot doesn't.
If you want to know the honest truth, I don't think this was luck, because we all worked very hard to examine what we were doing well and where we were gaps, and everybody put a tremendous amount of effort into looking at science instruction and integrating that. And the integrated arts component is very important as well.
Congratulations. And you don't get those kind of results without these questions. So it says, among other things, you don't have some one or two teachers that know all the answers, but think you know the answer. You just don't get those results.
Congratulations to the parents as well. A big part.
Let's not forget the kids. Congratulations to the kids
Don't
for
forget the
working
kids.
so hard.
Somebody actually has to pull the plow.
This
Okay,
is really about kids.
number 5. This is a proposal for what we do on the 7th and maybe the 8th or the 28th. Jean pointed out that in our agenda, we had the wrong date for it's not October 17th, but down below, it has the right date. Just mark that one out.
That's the one.
It's October. Yeah. So what I'm proposing is that our objective be to inform the citizens of Underhill in as broad a way as possible, with as many different points of view as we really can. And also be sure that they get the basic elements of what the merger proposal is. And I'm assuming that the basic elements of the merger proposal will be covered in whether it's Michael or somebody else from the committee speaks to the merger. And that's why I'm suggesting that that person lead off. And then I think I saw in some notes from June and Andrew and maybe elsewhere that Michael at least was expecting about a 15-minute kind of presentation. So that's why I took 20 minutes for that. To give everybody the 15-minute presentation that represent what the committee wants to represent to the community about what the merger committee has done. I also think that we should try to find somebody who has an alternate point of view. This obviously is not a new strategy in getting information to people. We ought to try to find somebody, and ideally it is somebody that was on the committee or with the committee, but it could be anybody else, that saw some reservations in what the work that the committee is proposing, or maybe even call it some downside. And then I think we should hear from the superintendent of schools what he thinks that will be the outcome of this. What are the facts? Not whether he thinks this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. I hope nobody is. vote for this because I think it's a good idea. But, speaks in a way that respects everybody and tells them what you see as positive points on this, what you see as reservations or negative points on this. And I want to give Barb an opportunity to speak if she likes. And our team representatives, Gene and Sandy, once Sandy got on coming to the meetings, she was there as a committee member from what I saw.
She kept coming and was very interested.
People
She didn't have a vote.
No, but she had a voice, I think.
And I will be talking with her this week if you would like to shorten our time or combine this or have me speak for both of us. However you want to do it.
We'll see what the board wants to do.
It's up to you, because she's an alternate and I represent the community.
But she has given quite a bit of thought to this. And
Yeah.
was involved in most of the later meetings. I don't think she was involved in the early meetings, but most of the later. And I think the board members should have an opportunity to talk to the community. And Andrew, 5 minutes instead of the 2 that the rest of us are proposing, because he was our representative to the committee. We spent a lot more time involved listening to the discussion. So there's more time than the rest of it. And I think the two Underhill Central representatives to the Mount Mansfield board should have an opportunity, if they would like to speak to the citizens. What's their point of view? Is this going to be good for the middle school, high school? Is it going to be bad for the middle school, high school? Is it going to be neutral? What do they think? What do they see? At least give them an opportunity to do this. So this is the what the schedule that I think we should follow. Simply opening up the floor to people asking random questions and making random speeches doesn't do the job as efficiently as having scheduled, in my opinion. What's your pleasure on this?
I'll put back comments.
Okay.
I think for the emergency committee chair, 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, he said he put I've heard from, I said, Andrew and Gene, that the presentation is 15 minutes. I think out of respect to him, whoever makes the presentation, we shouldn't say stop when you got 17 slides or whatever.
You know, whoever gives the mic to an obligation, because all 20 minutes. If they're given 20. So I like to see that, basically 15 minutes.
Anybody object to that going to 15 minutes? Okay.
But he has a presentation, he's going to be giving all these information. I don't think his presentation should have to be different. However long it takes. John said very.
Well, yeah, I don't know that whether he's
I think that's his role. From what I
practiced
heard
it or
him
not.
say. Right, Ed?
By the
He says,
time,
I'm gonna do it 15 or less. He's well aware that he doesn't want to take up the whole meeting.
don't think we're first, so he will know.
First meeting is tomorrow.
Pardon?
First meeting is tomorrow.
I'm sorry. what did
The
you-
first meeting is tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm wondering,
So, can you say 15 or
shoot,
regenerative, can you say 15 and if you got 3
Yeah.
slides to go, not read
I'm not
it
gonna
out?
15 minutes of where they go.
I'm not going to keep a watch on and jump up at 15:01.
Well, if we're gonna do this, we do need to have some time. What else?
No, he's a lawyer, lawyers go by
by minimum.
They charge, they bill, but
Clear that these are, very clear. I wonder, does the pretend feel it needs 10 minutes or can you get 5 and 5? Right now, you're like 2 hours and 7 minutes, that's a long meeting. Sit. So,
Can we speak more generally before we talk about the minutes and stuff? I mean, I agree with your general point. I feel like 7 minutes is a lot for the presentation. Yeah, I do feel that the bulk of the meeting should be the opportunity to ask questions. You may be right that it may take more than just the one presentation to get the ball rolling, but I do think that having most of the meeting be just our speaking is at least not what I have in mind. I feel like we have had ample opportunity to have our say. This is really the best opportunity. This is really the best opportunity for them to ask their questions. And I feel like I would rather have them have the bulk of the time to do that rather than have the bulk of the presentation personally. And I'm happy to concede my 5 minutes to do that.
well, yeah, different people may decide not to speak. But I think we ought to make it available for people who want to speak.
That's fine, but I think it should be the lesser portion of the meeting. I would rather see the larger portion of the meeting be.
my recollection when Michael was talking about this was that he would stick to 15 minutes and then he would throw it open for questions. And I think that his 15-minute presentation is going to provoke questions. And I think, I agree with you. I think to hold the public down for another 20, 30 minutes of people talking without being able to ask their questions. I think they're going to be immediate questions. And
I think people are going to want to know what.
but I think just to finish what I think I'd love to hear from each of the board members. Sandy and I could make very short statements about how we feel and why about the merger. But I think to have a question period right after Michael's spoken would be a good idea. All right, Andy?
I agree.
I'm wondering what would happen if we blocked it in the way that you look at Michael's presentation, John Albertini's presentation, and John as a block.
And then
We got to sell in the
Right,
person.
well, what I'm talking about is blocks so that you have somebody speaking and then an opportunity for questions, and then another group of speaking, and then another opportunity for questions.
I don't have people sit on their questions an hour instead of 15 minutes. Sorry.
And ultimately, what will happen is if enough people ask the questions, then what will have been said by some of the other people who may not feel like they need to speak will have already been answered, or the issues will have already been.
Should we have a question and an opportunity for questions after each speaker? Or, as Kristen said, have a block? 3 or 4 speakers reasonably should be blocked together and then an opportunity to speak. Kristen's suggestion, what do you think?
My hope would be that all of us would be involved in the discussion. So that once the question and answer portion begins, that, I mean, I would expect that public community members will direct some of their questions towards us. They have in other meetings in the past. I see no reason to expect that they wouldn't do so again. And I think that is the more organic opportunity for us to put our thoughts on that, rather than scheduling time for each of us to do so. So I would rather keep the presentation time short and then have all of us contribute to the discussion. And I think we will.
I think it's the difference between lecture style teaching and workshop style teaching. So if you want people to be engaged in the process, then you have to take them on.
I don't like the class where I have to talk too much. I don't want to do that. It's not a matter of my being unwilling to offer my opinion. I'm happy to do so. I just don't feel that should be the purpose of the meeting.
So I think we should schedule an opportunity for for Michael or somebody from the community. I think we should schedule time for somebody who has reservations of what the committee is going to speak for a fair amount of time. I think we should have scheduled time for the superintendent to give his point of view. What does he see? What are the advantages and disadvantages? I think we should give time, specific time for the principal to say what she sees as the impact on this school. And the committee members who have been there, Lou and Jean and Sandy, should specifically have an opportunity to speak. I think the board members elected by the community, if they don't want to speak, that's fine. Or if they want to just respond to a question in the question and answer period, that's fine. They should specifically have an opportunity to say what their thoughts have been on this process.
I can see a lot of redundancy in what you have listed here versus, you know, merger committee chair makes some points, and the superintendent makes some of the same points, and the principal makes some of the same points. And I agree with Gina, 100%. Half the people sit for 77 minutes before they can ask questions. Now, we're gonna lose them within 20 minutes.
Well, Kristen's suggestion was we block these and have an opportunity for questions and answers at that point. Okay, meet your,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just sent John a text saying, how many minutes do you want to speak in the UCS meeting? He said 2 to 5, I'm fine with none, whatever the time frame looks like before. So that's his
well,
response.
yeah, 0 doesn't work for me. Because he is the superintendent. The people of Underhill deserve to hear from the superintendent. What is his point of view with regard to this merger? How's it going to help? What are the pitfalls that he sees still being there? We're asking people to come here not to buy something, but to learn from all of us collectively. And to make an informed vote later on.
So he's happy to do it. He says 2 to 5, whatever you want. So he's happy to do what you want. In terms of time, right, in terms of time.
Okay, 5, okay, I'm all right with that. What about the block idea? Have 3 or 4 speakers and then stop you.
Yeah,
Question?
I like that. Couple of opportunities for questions.
Yeah, well, I did too. So, should that go down too far, or should it go down to John? Or stop before John? Should it be the top 3, the top 4?
I would,
I'll put after John, at the ladies.
I think I would do John, Mark, and whoever's gonna be, I think having
Okay.
that whole, like, one side, another side, just so people can get
Then the
the.
question,
both
then the
places,
applause.
then the questions, then the law,
Okay,
then I think it would make sense
And
for
then
John
mine?
and Barb to speak.
is that all right with everybody? Anybody not all right? Okay, and how long the question and answer period? And I put John Albertini down for 5 minutes.
We can put 30 minutes or not even put any time, just, and say, people, that question there.
You put in
Approximately 30 minutes.
Things can, if you get a dozen people together, they can dribble on and on and on.
Well, that's what you have.
15 minutes?
I'd say at least 20.
I can plenty of time.
Okay.
Don't cut people off.
20 minutes? Question and answer? So then what happens? Well, in the next group of speakers, somebody said, cut it off, then the Barb.
Oh, no, no,
So first
first
block,
block, and then
Oh,
John and Barb, so you have.
John and Barb would be the second.
well, I'm just calling the meeting to order and say, this is what we're talking about.
Well, I would still make it you, Mark, and whoever this, minority report, right? And then John and Barb with another answer question block, and then the representatives
And
and
the
the
school
school
board.
board to do that.
Okay?
So you have
Everybody follow that?
two big question and answer blocks. Very fast.
So really, we said the two people, the minimum have 20 minutes.
Well, the part of the reason, before we get into St. Helens question and answer, I'm trying to think of how long the blocks would need to be, so that then we can plan our question and answer time around it. So, for instance, if the next block would be John and Barb, so that's 10 minutes. Do we want to do the community representatives and board members at the second block, or on the second block? I think at the moment it's easier to plan this on for the speakers first, and then plan this on for the Q&As around. So, to that point, Barb, do you think 5 minutes is not enough for yourself?
John, I need 2 minutes. One of the things I'm wondering is who's going to be answering the questions in that segment. So, is it anyone that is here together that has information, or is it specific people, or are the questions directed at Mr. Marks or John, or how is that dialogue going to go back and forth?
The person in the community asked the question, one of the people setting it, the board, convene. Maybe check the question or comment that should be addressed, they can raise it and be recognized. I think that's a workable way of doing that. Not as difficult.
It was Michael's intention to moderate discussion. So it was Michael's intention to moderate discussion.
Well, this is our meeting, so. But Michael is making, that puts him in a better position to answer questions where he should be. The moderator is not in a position to answer questions in the real sense. Okay, we have Michael and the other person, 15 minutes and a 10-minute presentation. And then
We should definitely give them both.
Yeah.
So if we're going to give Michael 15 minutes.
I'm convinced of that.
I think if we don't do that, then we really, then the opposing people will be affected, and that will not be good. That's not all right.
Yeah, I totally.
It has to be.
Let me just ask this, I'm one who has the most reservation. I would imagine, I don't know, but imagine Michael would start with the first, most of his comments. Maybe just the first half will be procedure, which right up, will be discussing pros. So if he had like 5 minutes discussing on the process, how the community is formed.
And we'll talk a little bit about the.
And in
state
10
law.
minutes to talk about the pros, 10 minutes to talk about the cons.
So I think if what we're talking about is how much time are we going to give each side, and Michael already has a statement he's going to make that's built in a certain way, it's only fair then to ask the person who would be the minority report person to speak in the same way, to say, please talk about how the process went, and then talk about why you don't think that you want to support it. I don't think it's fair to say, we're going to predetermine that the person who has a minority
because Michael's gonna talk about something as the committee chair. I think that it has to be even, and if you want them to speak to the same things, then we need to be able to provide a structure for the person who's giving the meeting in order for to speak to the same things.
Michael is presenting the position.
Yes.
I think that I don't think you can. Yes, in the corner.
Okay, let's have a show of hands. How many think you have same amount of time for Michael's committee, majority presentation and the minority or whoever it is. Okay, and that's 15 minutes each. Okay. Followed by up to 20 minutes question and answer. Pardon? And then John and Barb, 5 minutes each, with up to how long? Question and answer. Pardon?
We don't have to use the whole time.
Up to 20? Is that okay with everybody? Okay. And then Gene and Sandy and Andrew, I'm still hoping we can.
Why don't we just do all these?
Yeah, I think it,
Yeah, just
Pardon?
the board members and.
Okay. One last group, the last 7, whatever it is, 8, 9. That makes sense to everybody, because I don't know, I haven't talked to anybody about coming to this meeting. So, I don't know if Sandy's going to be here, I don't know if Kirk is are the kind of timings that are shown there? 5 minutes, or you can,
No more than that. No more than that.
okay,
3 to 5. And as I say, I'll talk with Sandy about the things we can combine. But I would assume that after each cluster of people that are talking, and we have an open question and answer, that those questions would be directed to whoever just spoken. What do you think about questions after a very specific question? But then if someone else has the answer and
or the
speak up,
or
you know?
a different point of view, or some different information that ought to be.
Sometimes it's just question, some of the questions will just be information.
Yeah.
What will
Most of
happen,
them
yeah,
will be.
yeah. Somebody will ask if a school's going to get closed. That'll be a question.
Certainly will be.
So, you know, any one of us could answer that. Well, not for 4 years. Unless
No.
voted by the town. That's the answer.
Okay, what else? What are the changes?
How are you choosing this minority speaker?
Well, that's, I'm talking to you and Andrew, would be the best person to make a suggestion on who that should be. Then if there's meetings, we've seen who's stood up and who's, remember, the purpose of the meeting is to bring information, not necessarily.
Advocacy, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who thinks it.
Yeah, I don't know, and
Well, nice of you. Obvious choice, it's one way to come from Huntington.
well,
Next year,
thanks, Karen, you would be the last one.
she was the representative from the.
we could also ask her if she would Skype.
What'd you say?
I said we could ask her if she would Skype in.
Preference would be the first.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah. Would it also be possible to ask her if she can't come or Skype in, or if she can't be there, to suggest somebody. Is that okay? Okay. What's your last name?
A,
Katie,
And there's an S on the end of the name, it's Meg. There's two of her.
MEIGS.
No.
MEGS.
Okay.
Huntington meeting, like, or. I'll ask.
All right. With respect to the 28th meeting, I think we need to group after the 7th meeting and say, what didn't work? What should we do differently? What?
Can we do what you just said? And do we need to schedule a public meeting? Or
No, this is a public meeting.
we know, but what you're saying is that we should post game on the meeting on the 7th for the financial day? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting that at the end of this meeting, 10 minutes or whatever, this board pull itself together and say, we tried this method for this meeting, and it worked really well. Let's try to duplicate it. These parts worked well, and these parts didn't work well. Let's try to juggle the things around so that people will have a better meeting the next time. That's what that 10 minutes sense. The meeting isn't over until we say it's over. For us. How about should we have a time that we're going to tell people up front that we're closing at this time? 30, 50.
No, that's the 28th.
107 minutes.
How about at 9 o'clock?
And then 2 hours and a half. Yeah, that's more than enough.
2 hours for most of you.
Do you think 8:30? Do you think 8:30?
I think, yeah, I think people have been pretty tired by it.
Yeah, I do too. Let's try 8:30, which will make it.
Sometimes you go.
Shorten the question and answer thing again. But since we've taken a couple blocks.
I'd like to ask about documents. Will we have plenty of copies of the report?
Yes.
We've got to have plenty of copies so everybody can have one.
And that'll include what? The committee report.
It'll include the whole thing
The
that we
articles
have.
of agreement, it'll include the statement from the committee, it'll include the minority response to that, majority report essentially, and then the majority response to the minority. And also graphs and tables.
And what?
Graphs and tables.
Yeah, that's part of the report.
But enough to hand out if people want to take it with them to read, or they want to read as we're talking about things, because a question will come up and they'll say, well, that's in Article 7D, and it's on page such and such, that'll happen. And the other thing, I think, have you all seen what Andrew wrote to
No.
simplify the vote?
I wrote it Sunday, basically one page document, basically to explain what the vote is. Yes, please.
Clearly, that should be included.
Well, yes. And separately, not along with, not with.
Everybody should get a sheet of this. And I don't know how else this can get out, but the vote is really weird to look at. It's
Yeah.
really difficult. The public, if a person walks into that booth without coming to a meeting
Don't
or
be
reading
responsible.
this, They're just not gonna get it. It's very, very difficult to understand.
Yeah,
And
so-
what Andrew wrote explained it.
So are you suggesting we have a copy of what they'll see in the voting booth?
Yeah, well, this says if you vote yes, this is what it means. If you vote no, this is what it means. And then
No,
there's
I'm,
a-
excuse me, are you suggesting that we have also have available a copy of what they will see in the voting booth?
Could be, yeah. Could do
Jen
that.
has a good idea, maybe they could go with the back tomorrow, so that you can have the explanation on one side and the other.
More than one page.
That's what I was worried about.
There's a couple of pages on that ballot.
Maybe just the vote.
It's legalese.
Do you want me to look at it and see if there's a way to put on one side, here's the language we have to use because of the law,
Right,
and
it's
then
the law.
here's a translation in English.
And I don't know, at the voting places on November 4th, we can't use this. It's illegal to do
Within
that.
100 feet of the.
You can't be anywhere, yeah. So
Oh, but
It
we
has
pass
to
them out
be-
here.
And should.
And sure.
Yeah.
And also, you're gathering this together to ensure that it's all gets gathered together. All of these things that are going to be here.
That much I've been from, that will be there, and what I wrote will be there, and the article. This much we have been sure.
Well, you listed the articles of agreement, the majority.
they're all
That's all in
together.
one packet.
Someone
That is all in one
will-
packet, that is what makes this.
Are you seeing that this happens, or who's seeing
Yep,
it?
and we'll make sure that happens. We'll bring a big box with tons and tons, and we'll bring it from one meeting to the next, and as we get low, we'll make more.
Okay. And will it include the paper version of the presentation that Michael's making?
Actually, we discussed that, but I don't think.
Well, he's presenting it to the public,
Right.
and it should be a public document. You should not try to keep anything from.
Oh, it's, I think it's in the post. It'll be on there. But you're just asking if that would be a paper document?
Yes, but back to Jean's point that she made earlier, people are going to want to ask questions referring back to something in the document. If they have a piece of paper that they can follow and mark and come back to it.
First one's for
To have a hard copy. I don't know, we can find out, we can bring some hard copies. I mean, we're gonna post that on the website.
It's public document.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next month.
Next week, I hope.
Okay.
How much? Yeah.
Yeah.
16 good.
Okay.
There should be a song.
Anything else on next week's meeting?
Yes. This is just, I'm doing this before I forget. This is the document that has gone in the mail, it's gone in the mail today.
I'm not sure if it actually was put in the mail today, but I just thought it's.
This is just all the Dortmund warehouse.
It came in our mailing, didn't it? It came somehow.
I thought it was a draft. It went out,
This is the one that's going out.
3-page thing. Or 2 pages.
Yeah, and this is.
Two-page front and
The
back.
meeting,
Well, the
yeah.
page, there's the second page that has the mark on it, the postmark, but I didn't think you wanted that, it's just a nice graphic.
So copy for each of you, so I'll pass you one.
Is that sent through email today? Sent through? Because I think I have.
Copy.
I got it someplace. It came.
Oh, yeah, I've got this. It came
How
out.
many of these do you want? Okay, this is just for our information.
I have more to say regarding the merger, but I'm happy to wait until the like committee report to do it. Unless you like.
Either way, it'll be true.
Looks like there are next couple things to talk about.
Okay. Monthly, everybody, number 5.
I guess I'm going to.
Oh, come on now.
Are we done? Very good.
I'm gonna say more if you want to hear.
Well, why don't you?
Say it now.
What do you?
So I don't feel I asked questions about my feelings about the atmosphere of the committee and its attitude towards the subject. So I have crafted what I hope is a good response. I do think that it's fair to say that there have been among committee members hostility expressed towards the opposition. They're on public record with hostility expressed towards the opposition. However, I do feel that in general, the discussion has been fairly inclusive in terms of honoring both sides of the discussion, certainly a lot more so than the last time. I do think that the chair of the committee has done a lot to go out of his way to praise Megs, who has been the opposition committee, both in terms of her contributions to the overall process and her thoughtfulness in her approach to the process. I feel that he has been open to the opposition and has honored it. That's not to say the process has been perfect, but I do think that efforts have been made to honor both sides. In light of the fact that on the committee itself there is an overwhelming forward movement, and that he has taken that opportunity. I do feel the encouragement I do think that there's a big difference between listening to people's thoughts and agreeing. And I think that often when people express feelings that they have not been listened to, they're more reactive to simply not being listened to. And that a lot of the dissents that have been expressed have been heard. Decisions have been made in the direction, but I don't feel that that's the same as saying that people have not listened. I do at least hope that you as a board feel that I have listened to your concerns. And I have done my best to represent them. Whether I personally agree with them or not, I feel that I have, in good faith, presented them to the community. I did want to address some specific concerns each of you has, at least the three of you. For Peter, you have a question about employment, open board position. The reason why there was no language included in the articles for that was that since the process is defined by state law, it was not felt that it needed to be included in the articles themselves. That was effectively done since that was already taken care of. So that was where that discussion went. It wasn't so much that we didn't feel it needed to be, that it wasn't important to be included.
What does the state law say?
State law says that if any of the positions should remain open after the election, we as the local board have the responsibility to appoint people to those positions for the duration of the term of next election. And so since that is what, that's also what was suggested, that since that is what state law says, we felt that there's no need to include that.
Tony, thank you for listening.
And I don't mean to be glib about this. I don't. I want you to feel that I have done my due diligence. You're concerned about moving teachers, which I completely understand. And people did hear you on that. The reason why we didn't move on in terms of the articles was that we are required by law to honor the existing. And so rather than putting anything into the articles that would contradict that, if that is a matter to be addressed, that matter should be addressed in negotiations. Since we are required by law to honor the authority. So that would be the response to that. John, for your budgeting with breakdown by building, you requested that we look at that. And when the Murray's board presents its budget, will it do so, including budgets for each individual building. A lot of the decisions that have been made by the board by the committee in terms of what to put in the articles and what not. A lot of decisions have been made about predetermining the work of the future board. That there are some matters that if we put them in, we are either hampering or placing too stringent restrictions on what the board can or cannot do. And that's my personal feeling about a provision such as that we are overstepping our bounds as a committee in terms of determining what the future board can do. It did go in a list of suggestions that was considered by the full committee, but it was not pursued.
Because they wanted the new board to have the option of doing it or not doing it.
Exactly right. So those are those three particular issues. So I just hope that.
I think it's an outstanding. In my opinion. I think you were the right person for the job. I think you're coming back to it's not really good. I think also the shortcoming of this panel, of this meeting, that there was no communication back. You know, people were just like hanging. And then the feeling become you were just kind of blown off or ignored.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
I mean, I'm glad, I mean, this is the first I've heard of any that my concern was even brought up. And that at first several meetings that was like months ago. So I think that was a shortcoming of this group.
Also, I wanted to say something about my own position on that, since I've been asked. And I put a lot of thought into this. This is not an easy one. I've taken some time over the past week to talk to many educators and talk to people about it, which has not been easy, to be frank. A lot of teachers are reluctant to engage on these issues in their life. But I did get a few people. And I feel like I am on the side of being for the right. And my question all along has been, if we're going to give up representation, which we are, we would be going down from 7 representatives to government to 2. One should not give that up without good reason. And to me, the best reason to restructure that government is if it's in the best interest. And I've come to feel my conversations with them for a couple of reasons, mainly for flexibility in terms of how we can organize our schools. I think we have excellence in the current government structure, and we will continue to have this, regardless of the future government structure. But I think that given the current structure we have, we are limited in terms of our options. There are certain things that we're not able to talk about realistically with the existing structure. We can't talk about the possibility of having a magnet school in BSU, for instance, simply because we don't have the government structure in place to do that. The matter of technology has been brought up in terms of equity. It's very easy to get the important people into a room to talk about philosophical matters like curriculum and so forth. But to actually get the same number of computers per student in each school is a challenge given our current budgeting structure. And so even if you have equal philosophies and equal faculties in each building, you're not just getting equal programming simply because you don't have equal access to equipment. And this would be something that would be easier to plan if we had a more structure without that. Also, we do have 2 communities within ESU. The boards have been very direct in saying they don't know if they can sustain their current schools in the current structure. The UID board and the Bolton board have something back to that. And I do feel some sense of responsibility for students beyond UCS. I do feel that they are all our students. All students in the are our students. All students in the country, all students in the world. They're all our students. So it shouldn't just be about what's best for our kids, even within this syndrome. It needs to, we do need to think about everybody. And so I do think that considering what the future of the UID school, considering the future of the Bolton is part of our responsibility. And I don't necessarily know if all of our voters would feel that way, but I do. And I think that it's important to consider that in terms of the merger. And so for those reasons, I'm for it.
Can I say something? That was fantastic. Very clear. I felt that Tony's questions when it came to the board were not clearly answered. Nobody got back to me about that. I got to thinking about it. We did talk about it, as you said, but we didn't go back to you and tell you that we talked about it. The other thing that you brought up and that Meg's brought up and was sort of floating around was the one board for the elementary schools and one board for 5 through 12. Remember, we had quite a big, long discussion about that. It was brought up. You had that idea, you thought about it. Couldn't we do it that way? And
We voted on that.
yes, and it was a long discussion, and it came down to being just more in practicality in terms of not working together.
This is the first I'm hearing it.
Yeah, so see, that's not good. I mean, I think I thought that way, and I just all those meetings. And then the question of hiring, as far as I understand, and Barbara, you can correct me, but the hiring happens through the superintendent's office. If somebody wants to work in Chittenden East, they apply that way. There's an opening in Underhill or Huntington or Mansfield or whatever, and it goes that way, and then it comes back to the administration, to you get involved, and then it comes to the board, right? And
No, it doesn't have to be.
well, but I mean, the board can weigh in, or I guess actually,
board has
no
no
hiring is done, okay. But you're concerned about, would we have to get somebody from our school here that,
I think we even not.
right, that was your concern.
Yeah.
And I've worked in every school in the district, every elementary school except both of them. I worked years ago in Huntington, and I really see us as a stream of all together. I don't see us that separate from the idea of Jericho or Richmond or Huntington. That's how far away Huntington seems to us. So I feel that we have such good school systems that if enrollment goes way down in one place and you have to let somebody go, that person can go to another school.
But that will come to work out. I know this from experience on my daughter's at River.
Where someone was,
Someone was, yes, and the person is a wonderful teacher at a different grade level. Grade level was teaching. It didn't work out at all. The person teaching math, the person teaching the wrong way. I saw problems.
possibly that was not.
And that person is not a filter for the job, but got moved. But it's so good. School cannot be a professor, someone in the side and you will go out. So, I mean, again, it was good teachers. You don't have to lose them. They can still apply. The only way for the reason a person did not get hired is if someone knows you better. Apply. So, I think that,
But you're talking that was 5, that's already established.
yeah, so I mean, the problem becomes more pronounced if we become more.
See, I was fortunate to work in the school libraries all the way. I worked in all the elementary libraries and in the middle school, set up in the school libraries. So I had this great advantage of not having to put grades. I mean, I just had a lot of fun with the kids and did the libraries. So, but I worked with teachers in each school, and I saw teachers who were brilliant, did a wonderful job, worked together. But I also saw teachers who were a little bit stuck in the way they had been teaching for 20 years or 10 years. And so I believe in moving teachers for their own benefit. And I think Chittenden East has been a school district that hasn't moved teachers very much. If you go to look at South Burlington, I have friends that have taught in Burlington, South Burlington. In South Burlington, you expect to move every 3 years, according to friends of mine that taught at the elementary level. And that doesn't mean you move from second grade to eighth grade, you don't. But you may have to have a slightly different class grade level. You have to start over again and think a little bit about new curriculum. You have to be creative, because now, by gum, I'm not doing what I did last year. I have to be creative. And that can be, I talked to a teacher from Camelson the other day, and I told her what I believe about this, and she said, well, I sure wouldn't want to be out of my building because I love it here. You know, she would freak if somebody took her and put her someplace else, but she'd probably survive. But she would have her opinion about that. She loves the school, and everybody loves their schools. This school, I'm sure they do. The other one quick point I'll make is that I did a lot of reading and thinking about this question of local control. And I think that's one of the issues that comes up for people is, well, if we don't have our school board, how are we going to have any control over what happens? And I just think that parents are so involved with their elementary students that this, if we do have a merger and we just have 2 representatives from Underhill on it, the parents will continue to be involved. Things will still happen. There will be potlucks. There will be.
Oh, we have modified programs.
Yeah. You won't lose it. You will not lose it.
And you talked about where he went to school.
And no matter how you change the government structure, it concerns parents in the building have the most say. There's nothing we can do to change that.
And
There's nothing we
a good
want
principal is
do.
going to listen to curriculum questions and all kinds of things. Anyway.
I'm quite sure that some of the mergers might be sad and most people, in favor. Give anyone, each one on. But,
Well, it voted, it passed last time, but that was just.
yeah.
Personal decisions. That's part of it.
What was that?
Unfortunate consequences of personnel decisions that happen with our ministry.
Yeah.
And I just feel any school, and I can say this from professional experience, and parent as well, any building, any school benefits from having it. And this would help. Yes, things like that happen, but they would happen. Yeah.
Well, that teacher request is now, appropriate.
So this has been a wonderful conversation, and for me as a central office employee, the information so that something was shared, it was discussed, but then it was never gotten back to. That's a really good point, to have somebody paying attention to that. Say, okay, these 3 people have these 4 points. Who's going to get back to this person? Who's going to get back to this person?
Yeah.
And closing that circle. So I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of other people out there, everyone who brought up the same point of view. I wonder how many of them got any sort of response.
And that's it.
And you didn't know that what you had asked about was discussed.
No, great. And the question is, in a committee such as that, does the committee chair do that? Does the central office liaison John do that? And
Probably
because
Andrew or I or Sandy might.
but it wasn't explicit, and I think whenever we have a process moving forward, I think it's really important to be explicit. Okay, we have these issues. Okay, there's 4 people who came to the board meeting tonight. What's the process of who's going to follow up with the person?
I don't know how I voted at this point. I've never been opposed to it. I have questions certain aspects of it. But I think, topics like this, some people have to be willing to whatever change it, I think at the end you get a better product.
And I hope people still will. I hope that people, that's part of why I want to leave the best questions. I hope people will come.
And no matter whether it's a simple question or a complicated.
And I don't believe, I mean, I will vote that, but I don't believe it will go well. I don't think that's going to go well. I just think it gives us more options.
Some people are, I think it's been said that there was all a done deal from day one, and I don't think that's true. I hadn't made up my mind till March or April, just listening to it and doing reading about it, and I voted for it, but, you know, I'm not thinking for a while. Would it affect the votes?
It's not something I want you to mind.
That's exactly why we need to hear from people. People instead of just able to, people that went to the.
Well, I hope that every board member and Sandy and I will say something.
Are you ready to move on?
Thank you.
Well, thanks for all of those meetings you went for, too, for us.
It was quite an experience for me. It was.
Good. I think it helped you out that way.
Bye-bye.
The monthly expenses, who's got the number?
$131,730.
Make the most of the invoice that was October 30th, 2014, for a total amount of $131,730. Getting that much.
Second.
All these meetings over.
We're getting there, well.
There are some items that I marked and looking through this, just maybe quickly. We bought 32.8 gallons of fuel oil. What happened there?
There's a
Bought 32 gallons of fuel oil.
It says we wrote a check for $112.77 for 32 gallons, 32.8 gallons. It says fuel oil.
I would have to go back and look, John.
It's on page 3.
except for the lawnmowers, is there a small?
No, because we have something that's that. I'd have to go back and look when the date of that was. It could have been the spring.
There's a date
Yeah,
on
I
the check.
see. Yeah,
Today,
yeah. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and I will answer your question, but I have to go back and look to see what that is about.
it's curious, and it's not a terribly big amount, but it's a curious purchase. That's what it was. And on page 8, we have 30 adults go to a barbecue in Jericho.
Yes, we did. That was in service. And we all joined together at Jericho for in service.
So all of our staff,
All of our staff joined together with UIP staff, joined together with JES, and we did all of the mandatory training for in service. And that's our go back.
30 is, we have 30 people.
We do. That's custodians and kitchen staff and all.
So the dinner meal
Was lunch, was campers.
Okay. And what were the pamphlets we got from the Northeast Foundation for Children?
Those are the developmental pamphlets that we hand out every year at open house that says when the child is in the 4th grade, this is their developmental needs and nature.
So, this is for the residents. Vermont School Board Association. There are 5 of us here. We pay how much to the Vermont School Board Association?
$1,200,
$1,200.
almost $13.
I get mailings from them, I get email. Well, at one point, we would explain what we get.
Well, let's, They have a staff there, and we're helping to pay for that staff. And they do things, but I didn't go back and look at the line item budget that this is against. But I thought it was called travel, wasn't it? The one that's supposed to be money for us. Is there another one for the
So
School Board Association?
there's advertising, which are mailings. There's $200 in the budget for that. There's duty fees, which is $1,176. Is that what that number is?
No, it was
1,200,
1296.
1,200.
And then there's,
What line item is that?
it's on page 4. On page 4 at the bottom for the Board of Education. It has,
Using fees.
like, so the number you have is $120 less than what the building is paying. That's paid.
Okay.
So it would be interesting to know what his operating expenses for the board is, so $5,000.
And I will check on that for the next meeting. I believe that that has to do with just attorney's fees for negotiation, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Did we have a motion on the proposal? And you seconded it? Did you have a motion on the second?
Yes.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Yes. 5-0. Okay, good. Minutes. Minutes of some previous meetings.
Okay, I have a correction on what the office of the September 2nd meeting. The last meeting for that meeting. Here. And the separate sentence that says, you guys would like to see the word proposed and the word material. Again, believe that is, again, believes that is already taking place. I believe that that was Tony who made that
Okay.
motion.
Thank you.
And I think so.
So on the page 3, appoint truancy officer. Truancy officer. Halfway down. Oh, yeah. Okay, that should be in the seventh sentence. After the meeting schedule, the next point is the state attorney may be contacted. Okay. There is a loophole in the law, and I believe I said may be because if someone is ill and in the hospital, then absolutely, you obviously don't contact.
Okay. Should we have a motion?
Oh, I have some from other minutes.
Excuse me, go ahead.
On the June 17th meeting,
Oh, yeah. I do. Okay.
okay, there's an S.
There's
Sorry.
an S
No,
at
that's
the end
okay.
here,
There's two of them. It's like next.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And then Andrew comments on the merging meeting, and we'd like to merge school boards, not schools, 8 towns, there's actually 5 towns. And
Really?
there's
6 districts.
It's 5 towns, 6 districts, and 8 school boards.
Oh, that's actually 8 school boards.
That's what I consolidated.
So what I recommend is you there's 6 towns, 5 towns would need to consolidate 8 boards. And then in the next sentence, the next paragraph, merging schools would not be part of this merged school process. I would say of this merged governance process.
Oh,
And I'm sorry, if you go down below grid production force, the first Q at the end of the last sentence, it says, however, the direction of, I think it should be, this board was directed to evaluate, not has directed.
It's easy.
I have one more.
No, no, that's fine.
On the last page of those same minutes, August 2nd is the deadline. It says to warn the November vote. Warn it?
Moment, yeah, it's November.
August 2nd, on the last page. August 2nd to warn the vote.
Maybe November will be.
Sorry, I don't need to be so.
No, I think
Well,
we were
no, you
making
should
sure
not
that-
apologize.
Okay, so that's done. Thank you for doing that, those things. Okay.
You all set? Ready to vote?
You need a motion.
Give us a motion.
Approve the minutes
Take it.
as amended for June 17th.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Pass 5-0. Okay. Okay. Next meeting, pardon? I don't see it. Where is it?
So at some point, I don't know when you want to do this, if you can give me direction on what you want me to do with Peter's question. It sounds like you know the number of acres and the amount of land. If there's something that you want me to do, let me know. And if you want me to get back to him, or if one of you want to get back to him, he's here.
I think we ought to have some statement that we put in the minutes. Since he's brought this up twice.
I would not be opposed to some sort of minutes.
Okay, so you want me to take it back and then look at it and then make a recommendation to the board on what, on where we should move forward?
That's what I would do.
So yes.
In our
Oh, yeah, she was just saying a recommendation.
I'm willing to go on record now. Look at the streets that we have now, I think it's the wrong time for we can consider buying some land for $300,000. Especially how it's not adjacent to our property. You can maybe put it in the town, but not,
Well, I think you're saying don't waste Jim's time.
yeah, I'm willing to go on record now saying,
Okay, let's have a show of hands. How many want Jen to explore the issue and bring back a recommendation? 1, 2. How many don't want to do that? Okay. Okay. Let's put that in the minutes.
Not to pursue anything.
Is it okay, they didn't have a motion, to vote on the motion, but we did have a show of hands. Is that okay if we list that in the minutes as the majority?
so I like a little explanation, not to further the expense. So, purchasing.
You also do not adjust. Did you have other ones?
Well, it's sort of a Robert's Rule process thing. Technically, there's not other items there on the agenda. Which is not here.
Mhm.
So my question is, will you be challenged at the next meeting saying, well, I didn't know you were going to decide not to do this? Should it be in another item? It's up to you. I don't know if that will come up.
Well,
Thanks again.
So,
Okay. Either way, has a good chance.
You are very much.
The board has made a statement. It did not take action, but it has made a statement. This was it declined to give directions to you, which is not doing, that's sort of doing nothing.
So shall I say that? The board chose not to give direction.
The board will make a formal decision at the next meeting. Okay? And we'll have that on there. It will be on the agenda for our next meeting.
What do you want on the agenda?
To discuss and formally decide if we're going to purchase.
I say if we have it on the agenda, we need the facts to support the discussion. So we go back to
No, to me, the facts were there, like $70,000.
I don't have those facts. It's hearsay at this point.
Oh, it's a conundrum.
Again,
I think,
with due process, we should probably have you look into it, but that's next time.
Okay, what facts would you like? Just the price of the acreage?
Price.
The location and availability and what use it might have for a school.
So you said there's signs there, so there must be a real estate agent. Well, a real estate agent, so how many acres is it?
Generally, all of the questions that you might have if you're trying to pursue this. You should not do any kind of business.
No, I'm not, and believe me, I really believe in place-based learning and having space. In fact, I'm looking at the school over in New Hampshire that have 185 acres and it has a forest management. The school district. So but I do want to do what you want. So it's really up to you, it's not mine.
I don't see why we need a recommendation from or.
Well, she doesn't have to make a recommendation to it. If we're gonna put it on the agenda, we have to have facts that come with it.
Quite honestly, I would like to have a recommendation. I would like to know whether the central office would like to potentially in the future have the opportunity to have property that is not a choose to use.
So if one or two of us want a recommendation, then please do it if you feel comfortable.
It'll take more than time deciding if she's gonna make a recommendation.
That's probably so. And we are indeed asking Jen to spend part of her work time on this topic, and not necessarily a trivial another time.
two items. We have decided them, that we will discuss this further.
Well, I think we need to have a show of hands again.
I think that we're probably good and another. I think we should discuss it next week. I'm changing my vote.
But that wasn't my advice. My advice is that given Robert's rules of order, it's not on the agenda. So at some point when it comes up later, if the decision is made, we don't want to.
Yeah, we can't make it.
Right, so well, I'm just it's more the process that I think about. In that, if it said other business, then we discuss that under other business, but right now it doesn't say that. Reminds me that I should make sure there's other business on every agenda. So that's my mistake. So my report.
But no, I'm confused about what we do next. That's all. I understand all of your reasons.
I think
Are we going to have it on the agenda at the next meeting? Yes or no?
I think if we're going to make a decision on whether we're going to pass it.
Show of hands. Okay.
Okay, so then the question is, do you want to just say response to be about land, or do you want me, and do you want to just have this conversation we just had again? Or do you want me to call up the I have to go out here, because I don't know if I can drive around.
I
Do you want me
think,
to do that and bring information, or do you want to just have the conversation you just had?
There needs to be at least preliminary level information. And
Tomorrow
inside,
morning,
and
I'll
inside,
drive by, I'll get the name of the real estate agent, phone number. I'll give you a phone call, or email it to you, state entry copy.
I'm happy, I think it's a beautiful thing to drive out, but it is my opinion.
You know, but if you're not coming out here, you don't make a special trip.
and there needs to be included some kind of a statement from an educator's point of view of what would be the value of this to the school.
So changing the consultant to say that general exploring the property for sale and it will be an agenda item.
Yes. Everybody okay with that?
November.
The November 4th school board meeting.
It's, it is.
It is.
It's in November 4th.
Yes, it is. You have your meetings on Tuesday. You seem to hit the Tuesdays.
That's
is
the
on-
merger vote.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
No, 2 points.
Are there other committee anymore? Okay. The meetings. Are we moving to the next agenda item? What is it? Does anybody else want to do anything? Okay, I've done that. Next agenda is,
Policy did not meet.
pardon?
Policy did not meet.
Okay, the executive committee did meet, we got minutes for that, I did not attend it, but it's a way on the family funeral, and I forgot to call anybody from the board to go to that meeting. So, there's a couple of things in that. Just wanted to highlight, everybody. Because we highlighted in one resolution. One of them is no. I don't know. No fall meeting. There it is.
What kind of this? Chance to talk on the board. And just that interaction, even if it's not pressing issue.
Yeah, that is catch.
Yeah.
On the next meeting, the date and agenda, October 22nd. It's going to be the same time as the merger discussion at the high school. It's at 5 o'clock, so those of you who want a long meeting should go at 5 o'clock to the executive committee meeting. We'll talk about the special education, and the preliminary budget, and then go right into the merger discussion. And there's a note here, we're talking about the common core. The change in the teaching practice is more important than the resources used. This is John speaking. Is there an impact for us here, or what was he talking about in terms of how to move towards the change in teaching practice?
We're focused on, for instance, teachers again having professional development in writing and math, and through lesson study, we have thousands of Christian Watermarsh, they are examining their instruction for ways to address the curriculum. And I will tell you that it is a rigorous curriculum and a high level of engagement for students, which means that they are deeply involved rather than sitting and listening to you show them how to do long division. They are highly involved in investigating how to do my classrooms, I see teachers conferring, writing with students, and see students gaining a lot of independence.
So it sounds like you're moving in the right direction.
I believe so. I've been in teaching myself this week and have enjoyed it. Had a really good time in the classroom teaching for their students. Found it very rewarding yourself to put some practices in place. Good.
Okay. Dave, until the next meeting,
So might there be some sense in moving that?
pardon?
Might there be some sense in moving that? Yeah.
I don't know why, but.
Well, my thought is that the results of whatever. And so it might there be some sense in moving that?
I mean, in further into November, or back to where it's over. My response is, no, I don't think so. I think our work is exactly the same, whether the vote is yes or vote is no, for the majority of this town, or yes or no. We've got to ensure that a sensible budget is ready. We can move the date however the board wants.
Andrew, what was your opinion on that?
Just thinking about, I just think we'll have more information.
I mean, in terms of what our role is in determining the budget.
Just in terms of writing our business. Just a question.
We can react to the vote in our December meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a one agenda item, and it says here, first budget numbers. Anyhow, we'll have the budget. And first pass of the town report. There'll be a segment of the town report that might turn out different depending on the vote, but the rest of the town report, we are the school board until July 1st, or June 30th, at 2015. And we have the responsibility to tell the people what we did this past year. What else should we have on the agenda for next month? Other. Other
So would
business.
that be, what we talked about, would that still go into this week?
Anything else? Anything else?
Do you want the land as a separate item, or do you want it on other business?
No, I want it as a separate item.
Yeah, I want to be sure that came to Steve.
It's new business.
So land, town report, budget, and other business, and then this is the regular stuff.
Then just regular. Okay, we haven't gone through the building. If we still can do that. How what?
Boards, so, I'm not running again, regardless of what happens. So I think we're going to go through. My term is up in March. So what happens to my position for March, April, May?
If somebody runs for it, they're in that position. There'll be an election, two people will be elected in March. I'm not speaking as a lawyer because I'm not. But I'm sure that's true because the new board does not officially come in and replace this activity until July 1st. Yeah.
finish your term of responsibility.
My term of responsibility is up in March.
Jim, do you have any,
I know.
do you have any insight in that?
Yeah, and then what happens is if in the absence of someone running, then the local board can appoint.
Just as before.
I may not run, but if you guys want point, I don't know why you would. But I might be persuaded to be appointed, but I don't want to have it. For what?
Okay,
So if the people at the table can do it in the write-in.
But no, I'm just curious, I mean, like, if someone's really going to run for,
3 months.
yeah.
Yeah, it has the potential of going, spilling over into the following year if there's some reason for it. I can't imagine. I mean,
You're on a vote. I don't know.
You are, you're right.
And there's 3 people running for 1 year.
okay,
Contested election.
I contested it. We've had that when Kristen was elected.
Yeah.
Contested.
Collins, I remember when
We don't act like we want to be elected. I want to ask a question. Does anybody have a good way to keep time for the next week from now? Anything do? We have an egg time or cooking time or something. Anybody have anything better than that? Pardon?
Just get a stopwatch on the phone.
Who is going to bring one and operate it?
I'll remember, I have a stopwatch on my watch.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Are we ready to take a walk?
Would you like to?
Are we ready, everybody? At the conclusion of the walk, the meeting will be adjourned. Is that the agreement with everybody?
For executive session?
No. Should I take the computer on the walk?
Sure, let's make sure it's pointed directly at the back of my head.
No, I'm serious. Do you want the computer on the walk?
Yeah, take the computer on the walk.
Okay.
Are you supposed to put in the walk?
Ah,
What you got in there,
here we
anyhow?
go. Look,
Oh, we're still broadcasting.
we are. They can hear you. Wave to them. Wave to the audience.
Hi, audience.
There you go.
Well, let's go.
Yes.
You're no longer tethered, are you?
No, I'm not.
Maybe you want. Okay, this room looks freshly painted or something, was it?
Yes, over the summer, touched up. Yes.
Touched up, yeah, that's nice.
There is nothing standing to report.
Doesn't have to be outstanding.
Nothing outstanding.
What about the kitchen area? Is there any problems there? Anything down there?
No, I mean, it's the same situations. We don't have a three-day sink. We always get things on that for the health inspection. Going forward, we need to do something about having pots versus stainless steel. That's something to consider.
Rather than stainless steel?
No, we need to get rid of the aluminum and just stainless steel. So, that's something that's never budgeted, something that we can't do. So that's something we need to think about and get some information. Look at costs.
Margaret, say something.
The ducks are all clean.
The ducks are all clean.
You really bring that along? You are.
It's a public meeting.
Yes.
I think all of the buildings in Chittenden East are in good shape.
I think that we're working on.
We haven't taken care of those.
Well, we're working on it. Like the parking lot at Browns River.
Well, yeah, okay. Parking lot's a different kind of an issue than. How many of the classrooms have this, what do you call this, magic block?
All of them.
This isn't the smart board, it's some other brand.
Bright's links, and it's this. This is what makes the Bright link. And the board is just any kind of a
A lot more
whiteboard.
expensive than.
Yeah.
Understood. What are the things about the building that you wanted to get done, you weren't able to get done?
The one item is the doors at the end. We have talked about replacing them. They're rusting at the bottom. The estimate is a little over $5,000. I think it's $5,300. I have the estimate from Kelly Brothers who did the front door. I'm happy to wait until spring and make sure that the budget can afford that, or we can think about that for next year and we can put that in the budget for next year. Nothing that has to be done right now before winter. The doors still work. It's all fine. But we shouldn't let it go for very long.
Is there any danger of them not working this winter?
No.
Was it in the budget that we saw tonight?
No.
So it's a potential 5,000 rider that you're going to find.
Or I think we have some money at the end of the year, when we hit March and the budget is fairly solvent, we can do it in spring.
Okay. Okay, it gives us some idea of the flexibility in what you're thinking.
Yeah.
What else? Everything look good like this?
The building is in great shape as far as maintenance and what Jamie and Ralph do to keep the building in good shape.
There's no real hot spots or cold spots. A few years ago, we had kids in here wearing their coats.
Yeah, no, the building is good. The building is good. We turned on the heat in September when it got really cold. We were all freezing in here. And Ralph kind of looked at me and said, "Really? Do you want me to turn this on?" And I said, "Yes. Everybody is cold in this building. We're freezing. Everyone needs to have it turned on."
Last winter, we didn't have any problems with people being cold.
No, in fact, in the summertime, this end of the building, it sometimes feels like it's, 10 to 15 degrees cooler at the insulation is good.
Well, that's why you
When you
want to
walk
move
down
your
the-
office down
Yeah,
here.
right. When you walk down the corner and turn the corner, you really feel the difference in the summertime.
Okay, good.
No, it's quite comfortable.
So that investment.
No, and all systems, last winter, which is fantastic.
Little's the long-term stuff for Heather, right?
Amanda Little is the long-term.
Nuttall or
Nuttall,
Nuttall.
Hillary Nuttall
Yeah.
is the lady who will take Nancy Regan's place,
Hopefully.
Okay.
hopefully.
Okay, let's go down to the end.
Now, Deb Nair.
Yes, and Deb is coming in and transitioning this week. She's been in all week.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Deb's doing very well. The library is set up, so that's why we couldn't be in there tonight. They are playground, that's where we store them.
Okay. How about the outside playground?
Playground is in good shape. One of the things that I plan to talk to PTO about this year is the dome, the climbing dome. And you'll remember last year we used a limit for purposes of students not sustaining concussion, that they couldn't be at a height where if they fell so many feet. So those are some guidelines and regulations to prevent concussion.
And we'll cut the legs off the dome.
I think the dome needs to be replaced with something else.
And
And so do the, yeah, and so do the parallel lines that are out there. We need to think about that. The old slide is very, very high. So there's some safety concerns that we need to be thinking about in the future. Those should be some
Very
things.
hot in summer,
Those are some things, yeah, because it's metal.
and it faces south.
Right. So those are some things we need to think about for playground.
No, no, we don't have all the ecology done, we put a lot of land, but for day-to-day activities, do we have enough space? I think we do.
Absolutely, we have enough space.
Now my own experience, I don't know if this is,
I was outside one recess recently. We swapped spots and I needed to help out outside and, students are spread out. They're playing kickball, they're on the structure area, they're over on the basketball court, they're over in the rock garden. And they have a wonderful amount of space. They're playing cat games. They have
that's my
terrific space.
impression.
And the truth is, for supervision purposes, I wouldn't want them to be too much further away.
Even the big rocks, that would be advantageous, even to, carry a lot of the big rock.
Right.
One of my girls coming home and telling me,
That's right.
Thank you. And anybody going to the PSBA meeting tomorrow night, right, Sharon?
We're going to both. Get to see our show.
That's not on the way to the, you probably knew that, right?
Just good.
Yeah, just good.
Is this meeting adjourned?
Yeah.
Gonna make a motion?
That's what John said, was we're going on the tour with the understanding that once it's over, we're adjourned.
I think I'm gonna stop the